a new dance floor for the static fire stand at Massie's, ship thrust puck test stand loaded onto SPMTs ahead of Ship 33's cryo test regime at Sanchez, tile work continues on Ship 31 at the build site, and new tank farm expansion footings at the launch site. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's action-packed RGV aerial photography Starbase Flyover Update Episode 62. I'm BJ, and I'm excited to share some of the amazing things happening at SpaceX's development facility, Starbase, Texas, aka the Gateway to Mars. Now buckle up, and let's get started. Special shout out to Proky for creating these labeled maps for all 4 sites at Starbase. Before we cover the changes at Massie's, we need to take a quick detour to the port of Brownsville, where 2 new tanks have arrived. It's likely they will be part of the new tank farm systems at the launch site, but where and what they contain is still unclear. With that, let's move back to Massie's. By the flame trench, we can see the new maintenance platform hiding under the static fire stand after its deck was installed. The unused heat exchanger that we have keenly awaited final integration to the water deluge system is now completely removed and placed in this location. There is an identical tank at the Brownsville Airport storage yard. These could be slated for use at the new water deluge farm for Pad West at the launch site. At the Booster 11 analysis area, we can see the large pile of engines seen in the last episode have left the site. As seen here by Starship Gazer's image over on X, Booster 12's hot stage ring from IFT-5 has now been recovered by the vessel HOS Ridgewind. We may see it arrive here over the next week or so. Make sure to give Gazer a follow to view more amazing images like this one. Moving to the structural test stand, work is progressing with lengthening the tensioning poles to accommodate for a larger test article. Looking closer at the top of the rig, it appears that the new level has been filled with concrete. The shape of the highest ring and the lead-ins are exactly the same as the level below, indicating that there is at least one more level to eventually be placed on top, though no new leg or ring sections have shown up yet. New speculation has us thinking that the flat ring of steel off to the side was the interface for the ship aft of Test Tank 16 and has been removed in preparation for the reconfiguration of the test structure, possibly for a booster test article. Over by the old can crusher, we can see the 20 rams that were removed from the structural test stand, as well as additional rams sitting to the left, possibly for the system that will enable a twisting force to the top of test tanks. Looking back at an image from September 27th, we can see where the rams will be installed. And now, on to Sanchez. Here's a labeled map of the site for those unfamiliar with this layout. Now that you're familiar, let's jump in to see the changes. At the OLM construction area, welding work has started to join all the pieces of the base deck. The upper deck will be composed of 8 sections, 4 corners, and 4 sides. The external perimeter will form a square just like the base deck, and on the inside will form the circle for boosters to be held. Rolling to the transport stand construction area, some progress has occurred with both booster stands. The most completed one had the external scaffolding removed, which is a sign of it being complete. It would move into the ring yard on October 21st. More on this when we get to the build site. The other one has had some more paint work. Looks like they are priorities since boosters are now being recovered. Just to the side, the 2-point lifter stand received an upgrade of its base, with it now being able to carry a 4-point lifter used for Block 2 ships. Close to this, a new platform-like structure has started construction. Looking at the shape, it looks like this could be for the Star Factory. Moving to the chopsticks and carriage staging area, the carriage received more scaffolding, signaling that lots of work and inspections are needed in preparation for transport to the launch complex. The chopsticks haven't seen much attention in the past few days, most likely because they are waiting on the results of more catches to see if there is something that might need to be addressed. Closer to Highway 4, the ship QD arm structure appears to be almost completed, with the crane still holding the hinge structure. This is the state at which the SQD arm was installed on the Pad A tower. Only the piping and cables are missing. If you look closely, 2 of the 3 heat exchangers disappeared, and that's because they are moved to the launch site. You will see that once we get there. Now rolling to the scrapyard, where SPMTs are ready to move the ship cryo stand ahead of Ship 33 transport to Massie's for cryo testing. Nearby, Booster 4's transport stand is being scrapped. A 33-engine booster aft part is also in the process of being scrapped. We are not sure which booster version this is from. Let us know your guesses in the comments below. An interesting move here is that some Booster 4 Raptor powerheads were loaded into trucks ahead of a trip. We are not sure if they are being transported to McGregor or to display them somewhere else. Finally, at the Rocket Garden, we continue to monitor the middle ship storage pad, where new legs, most likely for a redesigned transport stand for Block 2 ships, were spotted a couple weeks ago. This is very interesting because there is no evidence of a new ship transport stand being built. This upgrade should improve the procedure for how they transport ships around. Now let's move over to the build site. Take a look at this labeled map where SpaceX is already gearing up for Flight 6 and the next generation of Starship. Starting at Mega Bay 2, Ship 34's Common Dome was rolled out of the Star Factory for stacking with the Forward Dome, Payload Bay, and Nose Cone stack on the morning of October 21st. We also noticed the new 4-point lifter had been completed and lifted 3 days prior, allowing ships to get rid of the 6 attachment points which had to be reinstalled with tiles after stacking. We also saw this video released by a SpaceX investor, Steve Jurvetson, showing another mural inside and the view from Mega Bay 2's top level overlooking the Star Factory. Over in Mega Bay 1, stacking of Booster 16 has started, with its Common Dome and A2 section being rolled out from the factory. Thanks to Vix for compiling this footage from Lab Padre's rover cam. Also in Mega Bay 1, we saw Booster 13 get lifted onto the second recently completed booster transport stand. By the time you're watching this video, Booster 13 likely rolled out to the launch site for its static fire. Testing closures have been posted for the evening of October 23rd, as well as daytime closures on the 24th and 25th. This may be the shortest flight to static fire turnaround time for boosters we've seen yet. Booster 13's flight companion, Ship 31, is over in the high bay, having its heat shield worked on as seen by the surrounding scaffolding. As a reminder, Ship 31's testing campaign is already complete after a static fire at Massie's, and it will likely be the last Block 1 ship to fly. Moving on to the Star Factory, this top-down angle shows that almost the entire roof has been power washed clean. At the third, shorter section of the office building, a large amount of steel beams have been raised to connect this section to the Star Factory. This triangular structure is staged at the far end. It will act as the glass frame for the skylight in the office building, which will likely be the main entrance or atrium. It would be lifted into place on October 21st. Roadworks on San Martin Boulevard continue, with gravel backfilling the trenches for some of the drainage pipes. Over in the village, the sushi bar's concrete floor is being poured, and further over, the larger of the pools has also had its concrete shell completed. Before moving on, this episode is sponsored by our Patreons and YouTube members whose support makes our flyovers possible. For full quality flyover galleries and roundtable discussion the same day we fly, as well as early access to photos and videos, consider supporting our flyovers on Patreon. And last, but by no means least, we'll cover the launch site. To help you get familiarized, here's a labeled map of the launch site. Jumping right into this week's developments, let's start at the Pad West Flame Trench. Beginning in the west corner, the Commodities Trench has been framed in with forms, and the rebar cage is being assembled in place. The next morning, this area appeared to be filled with concrete. The main part of the trench continues to see excavation. They appear to be digging only to the water level in the previous area. A pump is sitting here, but it doesn't appear that keeping the water out is a priority. To the south of the trench, we see 3 rows of piles outside the sheet pile perimeter have been exposed. It's unclear if this is part of the foundation to carry the OLM load, or if this side might need a base for a slide-over trench cover to rest out of the way like the lid on the static fire trench at Massie's. Along the northern side of the trench, the excavators being used for installation of the dewatering system have relocated after finishing the southern side. On the northwest side of Tower 2, the 3 panels of cladding that are under the chopstick carriage cable chain have been installed ahead of chain installation. If we take a quick detour, we can see here that the cable chain was transported from Sanchez during the flyover and parked here in the middle of the site. On October 20th, the LR11000 would unfold the cable chain with the assistance of a smaller Grove crane before lifting it into position on the tower. Thanks to Vix for this time lapse from Lab Padre's Nerdle Cam. Back near the construction entrance, both the LR11000 and CC8800 cranes remain where they were during Flight 5. One section of the CC8800 boom was transported away this week. We may see additional pieces of the luffing jib leave the site in the coming weeks, as only the main boom appears to be needed for future lifts. In the area of the fluids bunker, the conduits to the 4 vaults to the left have been backfilled. The middle of the site sees the return of some soil mounds. Near this area appears to be the latest point of pile installation. 12 piles were drilled here along the dark tire tracks on the morning of October 19th. At the end of the tank farm, the footings are being excavated for an additional horizontal tank. With the already installed tank embeds between these and the tanks, it appears 2 more tanks will soon arrive. Below and to the left, a new set of foundations with embeds have been exposed. We don't know what these are for yet, however the spacing seems to accommodate the new subcoolers that arrived from Sanchez. 2 of the 3 were transported to the launch site with the cable chain. We can see both staged near the highway here. One last look at the end of the tank farm, we see another rectangle under some machinery, as well as this area near the CFA drill rig where additional foundation piles are installed for future hardware. The 2 tanks mentioned earlier at the port may be located in one of these areas. The new foundations at the other end of the tank farm remain empty, waiting for their tanks to arrive. We can see that the damaged cable tray from Flight 5 has been removed and placed in a dumpster at the offload area. Stacked above the dumpster are the stands that the cable tray was attached to. Finally, at Pad A, refurbishment work is underway to inspect and repair any damaged hardware following launch. The OLM has the typical setup of scaffolding around the launch ring, as well as inside the ring on the dance floor. Both booster alignment pins were installed on October 17th. The chopsticks were positioned on both sides of the OLM here. Grinding and welding has been seen in several places. Some ground images indicate structural reinforcements to the landing rail swing arms have been installed. Just above, the SQD arm is in its resting position, having not seen any noticeable attention after the launch. And that's it for episode 62 of Starbase Flyover Update. Thank you for choosing to fly with RGV Aerial Photography, and I hope you enjoyed the flight. If you liked what you saw today, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more episodes and content so you don't miss out on the new videos each week. I'm BJ, and we'll see you next week from 10,500 feet.